Ever get the feeling like we're just scratching the surface of what's really out there? I mean, literally, when it comes to the ocean.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into ocean mysteries. All those things that make us realize how much we still don't know about our own planet. Our guide for this deep dive: 25 mysteries of the ocean that scientists can't explain.
Sounds intriguing.
And trust me, it is. This is not just like a list of fun facts. We're going beyond the surface level, uncovering those real head scratchers, the things that have scientists baffled.
It's stuff that keeps you up at night.
Exactly. Like, think about this. Over 70% of our planet is covered by ocean, right?
Right.
But we've only mapped, what, about 20% of it?
It's crazy when you put it like that.
It's like having this whole continent-sized puzzle, but most of the pieces are missing.
And who knows what picture they even make.
Exactly. So let's see if we can fit a few together, shall we? We'll start with a mystery that's been making waves online: the Baltic Sea Anomaly.
Ah, yes. I've heard of this one.
So picture this. You're scanning sonar images, and suddenly, boom, there it is. This huge mushroom-shaped structure on the seafloor.
I can see why that would cause a stir.
Oh, the internet went wild. Is it natural, a glacial deposit? Or something else entirely?
You know, what's really interesting here is that the Baltic Sea Anomaly, it kind of highlights a bigger issue. We're constantly finding things underwater that we can't immediately explain.
Right, because so much is unexplored.
Exactly. It just underscores how much of the ocean floor is still uncharted territory, even with all our fancy technology.
It's like we're still in the early days of exploration, and who knows what we'll uncover next, right?
The possibilities are endless, really.
Speaking of things we're trying to make sense of, let's talk about the bloop.
Okay, now that one's definitely eerie.
Back in 1997, this incredibly loud, ultra-low frequency sound was picked up by underwater microphones. And at first, it fueled all kinds of speculation about giant sea creatures. You know, those deep-sea monsters we all love to imagine.
Right. But sound acts very differently underwater.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It can travel for thousands of miles, bouncing off the ocean floor, going through layers of different temperatures and salinity.
Like it's got its own highway system down there.
Exactly. These sound highways are called SOFAR channels, and they can distort and amplify sounds, making it super hard to figure out where they're coming from.
So, like, even though the bloop turned out to likely be caused by ice breaking up, it still reminds us that the ocean has its own soundtrack. And sometimes it's pretty freaky.
No kidding, a giant cracking sound like that. I can see why people jump to sea monsters.
And speaking of mysteries that have sparked debate, let's move on to the Yonaguni Monument off the coast of Japan.
Now, that one is fascinating.
So this submerged rock formation has some people convinced it's evidence of a lost civilization, like Atlantis.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. It's easy to see why people think that.
It's like these perfectly straight lines and these right angles. How could that be natural?
This debate is so interesting because it makes us ask, how do we tell the difference between natural formations and something man-made, especially underwater?
That's a great point. It's like, are we imposing human-like patterns on nature, or is there really something more to these seemingly deliberate arrangements?
Right, and it ties into our fascination with lost cities, right? The idea that entire civilizations could be hidden beneath the waves.
Oh, absolutely. It just grabs our imagination.
For sure.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's explore some of the ocean's more mysterious inhabitants, the creatures themselves. First up, the narwhal.
Ah, the unicorn of the sea.
Exactly, because of that incredible tusk, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
For years, scientists were puzzled over its purpose. Was it a weapon? A sensory organ? Or something else entirely?
So many theories.
And what's cool is that recent observations suggest they might use their tusks to actually stun fish.
Isn't that wild? Like, think about the evolutionary pressure that would lead to such a unique adaptation.
It really speaks to their ecological niche and how they've thrived in a challenging environment.
Absolutely. It's not just about the wow factor. It's about understanding how these creatures have adapted to survive.
Now, for a mystery that hits a little closer to home, let's talk about all that plastic we dump into the ocean.
Yeah, that's a big one.
We know it's a huge problem, but scientists can only account for a tiny fraction of it. Where is it all going?
That missing plastic problem is a major ecological concern. We just don't fully understand how it's breaking down, where it's ending up, or its full impact on marine life.
It's a real-life mystery with consequences that are still unfolding. It's scary to think about.
It is. And it's a reminder that we can't just throw things away. There is no away when it comes to our planet.
So true. But let's move on to something a bit more awe-inspiring. the giant oarfish.
Oh, wow. Those are impressive.
This thing is the longest bony fish in the world, and seeing one in its natural habitat is incredibly rare.
They're like deep-sea legends.
They are. And the giant oarfish is a prime example of how challenging it can be to study deep-sea creatures. I mean, their size, their infrequent appearances, the difficulty of observing them in their natural environment, it all adds to the mystery. Plus, they sometimes wash ashore, and there are even legends about them predicting earthquakes. It's like they're sending us messages we can't quite decipher.
It's almost like they come from another world.
Now, how about a creature that was thought to be extinct for millions of years, but then, boom, it reappears like a blast from the past? I'm talking about the coelacanth.
Oh, the coelacanth, the living fossil. That's one for the textbooks.
A prehistoric fish rediscovered in 1938. Can you imagine the shock?
I can't even imagine.
It was a living fossil, a creature that seemed to have defied time. It shook the scientific world. It challenged our whole understanding of evolution.
It really showed us that some species can remain virtually unchanged for incredibly long periods.
Yeah.
It raises so many questions about survival strategies and how these lineages evolve.
It's like a window into a completely different era.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are still out there.
Makes you wonder, right? What other ancient secrets are still lurking out there? But speaking of mysteries that have captivated people for centuries, let's shift gears a little bit to unexplained events, phenomena. Starting with, well, the ultimate ghost ship story, the Mary Celeste.
Oh yeah, that one's a classic.
Found adrift, no crew, belongings untouched, cargo still in the hold. It's like something out of a movie.
It really is. The Mary Celeste is the perfect example of how the lack of evidence just fuels speculation.
It's true. It's true.
Without witnesses, we're left with all these theories, from pirates to mutiny to, even paranormal activity.
And none of them quite fit, right?
Right. The truth remains elusive, which just makes it one of the most enduring maritime mysteries of all time.
Absolutely. And speaking of strange occurrences at sea, let's talk about mass whale strandings.
That's a heartbreaking one.
These are intelligent creatures, So why do they sometimes beach themselves, seemingly on purpose?
It's a tough one. Really complex, with a lot of factors potentially at play. Scientists are looking into everything from changes in ocean currents to underwater noise pollution from us.
So, like, human activity could be a factor.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also the possibility of disease or disorientation.
Yeah, makes sense.
It just highlights how interconnected these animals are with their environment and how sensitive they are to changes in it.
It's a reminder that we still have so much to learn about whale behavior and how our actions might be impacting them.
For sure.
Okay, ready for something a little more, I don't know, beautiful and mysterious?
Always.
Okay, so imagine you're sailing across the ocean, and suddenly you encounter this vast expanse of glowing water. Sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, right?
I heard stories.
Well, it's real. It's a phenomenon called milky seas.
Milky seas, yeah. Sailors have described them for centuries, but only recently have scientists been able to actually confirm their existence, thanks to satellite imagery.
Wow, so we can actually see them from space?
We can. And what's fascinating is that the glow is caused by bioluminescent bacteria, these tiny organisms that can light up the water when they're present in large numbers.
It's amazing how these tiny little organisms can create such a massive luminous spectacle.
It really shows the power of nature
Mm.
and the interconnectedness of life in the ocean.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But let's go back to the ocean floor for a moment, to a phenomenon that's a bit more, I don't know, chilling. Brinicles, sometimes called icicles of death.
Oh yeah, those are freaky.
Imagine an underwater icicle of super cold brine sinking to the ocean floor,
And as it descends, it freezes anything it touches.
creating this web of ice that can trap creatures.
It's like nature's own freeze ray.
Exactly. It's wild. You think of the ocean floor as this peaceful, quiet place.
Right.
But it's anything but. Now, we've talked about some specific mysteries, but what about those vast, unexplored regions of the ocean? Places we know very little about, like the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone is a perfect example of how much we still have to discover. It's this dimly lit region, between 200 and 1,000 meters deep.
So much deeper than most people realize, right?
Yeah, and it's teeming with life. Much of it's still unknown to science. We're finding new species all the time.
That's so cool.
And it's changing our understanding of how life adapts to extreme environments.
It's mind-blowing to think that we know more about the surface of the moon than this massive part of our own planet.
It's true. We have so much exploring to do right here at home.
And then there are the submarine volcanoes. We usually picture volcanoes as these dramatic, fiery mountains on land.
Yeah, the classic image.
But most volcanic activity actually occurs underwater.
Yeah, that's something most people don't realize.
Submarine volcanoes, they're so challenging to study because of their locations and the extreme conditions.
For sure, it's not an easy feat to get down there and study them.
But they play a crucial role in shaping the ocean floor,
Yeah.
and creating unique ecosystems. These vents are often teeming with life forms that thrive on chemicals, not sunlight.
It really pushes the boundaries of where we think life can exist.
It's like discovering an alien world,
Right.
right here on Earth. And get this, scientists believe there could be hundreds of millions of these submarine volcanoes
Yeah.
scattered across the ocean floor. We've only explored a tiny fraction.
It's incredible, really.
And with every expedition, we're finding more evidence of their activity, both past and present. It really is incredible. It just makes you realize how much is happening down there, hidden from our view. We've covered a lot of ground today, from those strange sounds and ghost ships to creatures that seem like they're straight out of mythology. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more mystery, one that really captures the immensity, the wonder of the ocean.
Most people don't realize this, but the world's largest waterfall, it isn't on land.
It's underwater.
It is underwater.
I know, it's mind-blowing. Tell me more about it.
So picture this. Between Greenland and Iceland, there's this massive underwater cascade. It's formed by the density difference between cold and warm water masses. And this underwater waterfall, the Denmark Strait Cataract, it plunges over 11,500 feet. That's 3 times taller than Angel Falls.
Wow, that's the tallest waterfall on land.
Exactly.
It's like a hidden wonder of the world.
It really is. A testament to the powerful forces at play in our oceans.
It makes you wonder, what else are we missing? What other incredible sights, phenomena lie hidden beneath the waves, just waiting to be discovered?
That's the beauty of it all, right? The ocean is this constant source of mystery, of discovery. For every question we answer, countless more arise. It's a reminder that we're really just scratching the surface of what's out there.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great place to leave things. We've explored strange sounds, ancient structures, creatures that defy explanation, and natural phenomena that challenge how we understand the world. But perhaps the biggest takeaway is this. The ocean, despite its vastness, its familiarity, it's still largely unknown.
Exactly. It's a reminder to stay curious, keep asking questions, and never lose our sense of wonder. Who knows what incredible discoveries await us in the depths?
Maybe we'll find new species, uncover evidence of lost civilizations, or even discover new forms of life that, challenge our very definition of biology.
The possibilities are endless. That's what makes the ocean so captivating.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and never stop diving deeper into the mysteries that surround us. And if you want to learn more about the mysteries we've discussed today, check out the show notes. We've included links to some amazing articles and videos. So until next time, keep exploring.